guys, I'm just going to talk about CPM Rex 121. This isn't the cut test, I'm sorry. I will do it very, very soon though. I just need to go and buy some rope. And I've got this and a few other knives in, and they're all going to be performers. So I need to go and drop about 80 bucks on rope. So that's going to happen on payday, I'm sorry to say. Rex 121 arrived yesterday in the form of this Creeley Blades Mako. I actually got two Makos. I wanted a Crewwear knife as well. So I've got one in Crewwear with this maple stabilized bell handle, and then the polished G10, I think G10 or polished micarta, I think it's polished G10 of the Rex 121 edition. Bit of a slimmer knife as well. As a side note, they didn't both come with one, but they both share this sheath. The Rex 121 knife fits slightly better because it's a slightly thinner knife. Very, very nice sheath. It's got a pocket clip on the side here, so it can carry inside your pocket. It's just a taco style leather sheath. Really, really nicely put together though. Very, very nice. And the pocket clip is great. Class act all the way through. And some of the Kickstarters get this one, I think, if you're on one of the mid to higher price brackets. So yeah, I've sharpened the steel. Gary's edge was fine. It was a good edge. It was probably, if I didn't do these tests with any sort of strictness on the edge angles, then I would probably have just used that. But I wanted it to be the same as the Spyderco Manix 2 Maximet edge. So Maximet here is sort of the other ridiculous steel that I have in terms of edge retaining. And it's actually, a similar-ish recipe to the Rex 121. Rex 121 recipe-wise is, I'll show it next to Maximet. It's not too dissimilar. Just the crazy carbide forming elements, lots and so much tungsten, so much vanadium, and then a whole lot of cobalt as well. So real different and strange carbide formers. Do really, really well. It's actually like a really beefed up version, funnily enough, of the HAP 40 steel. So if you look at HAP 40, less vanadium, but it's got heaps of tungsten, it's got heaps of cobalt in it. HAP 40 is actually very similar to a sister Rex steel, Rex 76. And very similar recipe. Not an alias steel, but a similar recipe. This would probably do really well clad inside a kitchen knife that you're going to use in a controlled environment. But anyway, it's in a little fixed blade knife. It's a solid piece. So why would you ever want this steel on a knife? Well, I think a lot of it is the sport for people like me of seeing how it goes, seeing if you can. This steel, I would imagine, would have industrial applications for putting those little cutting bits in larger machines. Say if you had a Rex 121 blade in a lathe that just cut plastics all day or something. That'd be an amazing, like a really, really well done choice for that sort of application. Cutting things that are not going to challenge its toughness, because it doesn't have a huge amount of toughness allegedly. But yeah, in a knife, I liken it a bit to, say, a Formula One car with cars. So a Formula One car can offer probably one of the most amazing driving experiences, providing you have very certain conditions met, providing you have a pit crew, providing you have a racetrack, providing you don't have any other cars on the road to crash into. If you do your backup work and set up a Formula One day, you'll have a great time driving a Formula One car. This is just about considered use, using it on things that are not going to challenge its toughness, but are going to be complete victims to its crazy edge retention. And it's really what is probably one of the most saw-like edges I've seen on a plain blade. This cuts rope, absolutely, you notice the difference. And it's the same edge I usually put on, but it just pushes. Sorry, I'm just trying not to knock over stuff. It just pushes through the rope. It's it's something. It really is something. It's definitely quantifiable. And yeah, I finally got this. I kind of had to reset Gary's edge, and I've got it, shaving the paper, slicing the paper, just fine, just under its own weight. So just lean it in, pull the paper through it, no problems at all. It took me a long time to get to this though. As I said, Gary's edge was great, but I wanted it the same as the Spyderco's, which is on my Lansky system, using the bottom hole, the hole closest to this one here, the hole that's lining up with my finger there. It says 17 degrees, but I suspect it's about 16, maybe even 15. I didn't notice a lot of edge change, but I knew once I'd done it, I could say for sure that it was the same as the Manix 2s, because really the blade dimensions in terms of the spine thickness, pretty much the same on both of these knives. They are both about sort of 2.8 to 3 millimeters thick. Different grinds, but whatever. So yeah, because I want to be able to sort of say how different this is to Maximet in the cutting test. So I used my Lansky system to sharpen Rex 121, which isn't ideal, but I'm a bit of a Philistine with my sharpening. I don't have all the really expensive bench stones. I don't have a fancy flip over KME system. So I have I've gone and invested over the years about probably an extra $50 into these three here for over the months, into these three for my Lansky system. So the purple is the coarse, the orange is the medium, and the sort of bronzy color is the fine. And these are the stones that I used. It took me 2 sharpenings to get an edge that I liked. The first sharpening I just did it as I would do every other knife, just up and down strokes. I was pretty considered with making sure that I didn't burnish the edge. I tried to cut by just going against the edge. So I was just trying to go up and down sort of vertical on the knife rather than swooping cuts. And straight away I noticed that what usually feels like quite a destructive plate, this diamond plate here, the coarse one, usually you see the steel powder forming up really quickly on the blade face. This felt like, to the Rex 121, how the fine one feels to the S35VN. So it was, imagine trying to reprofile a knife using just a fine stone. That's how it was. And I wasn't even doing a drastic reprofiling. I was really just ensuring, probably just maybe a fraction of a millimeter or something, moving that bevel. And it was a fair job. So I did all my stones, I went through all of them, and then when I got to cut testing, there was a burr that I just could not budge. I think I'd overdone it. I think I'd gone too fast and not done any burr management. I hadn't really thought about it too much. I think I had a crooked burr because I'd started doing some downstrokes as well, I believe. And yeah, it was not an edge that I wanted. The burr just needed to be gone. So I was talking to one of my friends on Messenger who does sharpening, and he suggested just getting a ceramic rod and just doing a sort of a micro bevel, so to speak, to just clear it. So I did. I put the knife I put it deeper into the Lansky jaws, went from the 25-degree mark in just a few passes of a ceramic stone, and that cleared off the burr, but then the knife needed to have its edge redone just a little bit. So I did a full sharpening again after that. So patience was really the thing. I didn't actually have to do much different to usual. I didn't have to alter my technique. I just had to really do it slower and for a longer time. And with a Lansky system, you can sharpen what is probably the most edge-retaining steel going, probably by a fair margin. Interestingly, Maximet I didn't find Maximet particularly difficult to sharpen on the system. Maximet behaves a bit more like a tool steel than I thought it would. Felt a bit like sharpening sort of M4 or something like that, which isn't easy, but not hard particularly. Harder than most still, I guess, but deceptively. So I would say Maximet is easier to sharpen than CPM 110V, for example. I don't know why, but that is just how it feels, how the stones feel gliding across the surface. This knife, when I was using the fine stone, it felt like I was using one piece of glass on another piece of glass. I could feel no cutting. I could feel not a single budge of sort of any sort of give, or all the stuff that you often feel when you're still using even your finest diamonds. You can still feel, oh yeah, that's scratching just a little bit. No, it was doing very, very minor modifications to that eventual edge, but it did the trick. I did it enough, and it just kept swapping over, and eventually I got to a point where I didn't have much of a burr at all, and then just the final strop seemed to make it into a nice clean edge, which now to the finger is nice and sticky. You put you've probably got callousy, gross knife guy fingers like me. Rest your finger against it, slices along, to put a bit of a cut into your callus, all that stuff. It's a good edge. It's a good edge now. Comparable to what is on the Manix. Well, this part of the Manix isn't sharp because I haven't sharpened it since my edge test, but comparable to that part there, which didn't get didn't get used. So happy to compare this to the Manix Maximet in the edge test. It's just a matter of getting the edge test done. And as I said, it's going to use a little bit more rope than I thought because I've got a few other knives to get. Overall, dealing with Creeley blades, Gary's Blade Works, was excellent. He kept me just informed enough without. I didn't feel like I needed. I trusted the man's abilities, and I trusted his, he was going to come through on it. So I didn't feel the need to sort of pester him at all. But he would often just talk to me randomly, which was really, really good. Just enough. I wouldn't have wanted any more. I wouldn't have wanted any less communication. I don't want to feel like they're babying me or pandering to me too much. Go about your business, make your knives, make me a knife when you get to it, and it's all good. So Gary's really good like that, and he's got a lot on, and he got these done. So yeah, that was a very tricky steel to sharpen, but as a result, I just can feel a difference in how it's going to perform on the rope. Just in terms of how viciously it cuts, it just goes straight through. I know it's such a vague expression, but it is just. It's like using you can see it, you can feel the little serrations, the little micro serrations that those carbides are giving you. I'll show you some of this. This is, I don't know if it'll show up on film, but you cut the rope and it's just flat. The top of it is just flat as. It's really something. I'm excited, and I'll get to it as soon as I can afford to go and drop a stupid amount of money on some rope. Thanks again to all of you for watching. Thanks to my patrons especially. This would not be happening if it wasn't for my patrons giving me a little bit of extra confidence to spend perhaps a little bit so this hobby isn't neutral for a couple of months, but to sort of pad that out a little bit, which is nice. And if you, as I say, I always say, if you don't want a Patreon, that's totally fine. Just watch an ad every now and then or something. Help me with my monetization. But yeah, because there's a few costs involved, I guess, in all this business. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for some testing on Crewwear, Course Rex 121, got some more ZDP 189 in, and some RWL 34. So it should be a good couple of weeks on the channel. Thanks guys, I'll see you later.